Well, Matt, we'll get on with this. And again, I want to thank you for taking the time to speak with me. How's your day been going so far?
It's been going great, thank you. Yeah. Yeah,
How-
it's about 1 o'clock here.
yeah. So not, it's okay. You still got plenty of the day to go.
I do. Yeah, I'm about at my midpoint.
Okay, no worries, no worries. Well, how considering we're reaching the end of January, how's 2023 overall been treating you so far?
So far it's been fantastic.
Mm.
The response to the single that just came out a few days ago now. Today's the 30th. Yeah, it's been fantastic. Really really just happily surprised by the response so far. And it's our debut single too, so it's been exciting.
Why surprise? What particular thing has meant you felt surprised?
Just the response and surprise maybe not be the best word. But I try to keep my I hope high, but
Mm.
expect low. Just in case. You never know how people are gonna react. But yeah, the response has been really good. There's a lot of people have taken an interest, which, for a brand new band, it's been nice.
See, I think I completely understand a certain level of the surprise as well. It's not necessarily surprise because you will know you wrote a great song, but getting your head above the rafts, as it were, above the parapets, and getting yourself noticed is the problem. As you said yourself, a new band debut single. How do you stand out from a pack on a day when so many releases are being put out? It's difficult.
Exactly, exactly. And I mean, I've been in bands before where I know it's slow growth and everything. It certainly takes time,
Hmm.
but I also have the wisdom of those past experiences to know how to do things differently from the past. And just with age comes wisdom.
When you say different, do you mean in the sense of promoting and trying to get yourself noticed on what is the difficult part of being a band these days? The internet.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, I had enough patience this time around to think through like more of a strategy of not just like getting the master back and then putting it out on day one. Just taking the time to do things right.
It's a really boring modern part of being in a band, but it is so important. Yeah, whether you like it or not, you gotta play the game.
You've got to do it. Exactly.
What about an enjoyment aspect of that though? Because obviously, while that's a necessary thing you must do, is there an element, and I'm talking about posting on social media, stat watching, do you find any enjoyment in that?
um Enjoyment, not I've always been involved in the business side of any project I've been in, but the real enjoyment comes from the creative aspect of it, making the music, I love mixing and, recording. Um, I know enough about the business side of things that I can get into it, and certainly, like I said, the feedback has been really good thus far, so that's been exciting for sure, and I can certainly get that enjoyment out of it. But I'd much rather be able to really focus 100% on the creative part of it.
Yeah, just make the music and somebody else will take care of the rest.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about the music then. Now After Nothing. I particularly am interested to know what your vision was for the band when you first decided to make it reality. Did you know what you wanted to do?
When I first started this, it was more of a I I just needed to get my creative juices flowing again and get some music out there, and I didn't really have any intention of necessarily putting a band together as much as I did recording a solo album. I've, grown up, I started as a drummer, um, over time picked up bass and then picked up guitar and kind of fumbled my way through keys, and I've always done backing vocals, but was never the lead singer, and I don't know, it's something about it. I just kinda had an attitude of like, "Fuck it, like, why don't I just do it all myself this time and see how it goes?" Like, it's really just for me. And as I was getting more deeper into the process, um, I was really excited by the songs I was coming up with, and I thought, it'd be a shame to not take this to a band level and perform on stage and Because I always loved performing.
Yeah.
That was always something. One of the best things about being in a band was getting on stage and being able to just, kind of feed off that energy of a crowd and that kind of thing. So I recruited an old drummer friend of mine who I'd worked with in the past, and he kind of came in and made the drums sound 10 times better than I could ever have done as a drummer. Um, yeah, and it just kind of like through going forward with the songs, I just was like, okay, at some point I need to put an actual live band together. And that's what I'm in the process of doing now.
Okay, okay, that makes a lot of sense. Because particularly, I mean, turning, as you say, what is an idea into a reality it's a big ask. It's a tough task as well. What were some of the challenges that you faced turning Now After Nothing into, this attempt to put a live band together?
Um, the challenge is probably, well, the biggest challenge is my impossible to meet standards.
Oh.
I am very particular about my songs, and um, you know, s- I need to find the right people. Well, first and foremost, it's about like people you get along with, right? And people that, I've been historically very lucky to have worked with a lot of people that have understood my vision and have let me kind of take the reins when I really kind of felt like I needed to, but also would put me in my place.
Oh, yes.
When it was like, okay, rein it in, Matt. So I think that's really the biggest challenge, is just finding the right personalities. I mean, there's nothing that I'm playing that's so intricate or so, out there that someone else could not do it.
Hmm.
It's just finding the people with the right feel, and that you just get along with personally.
Well, feel free to not answer this, but I'll ask the question: how far along are you when it comes to a fully fledged live band?
A little over halfway, I'd say. I have like I said, I've got my drummer in place. He's excited to see this thing through to the next phase. I have someone that I'm like 99% sure of on keyboards and some additional vocals. Um, only that only one remaining 10 the only remaining 1% is just because I haven't synced up with her in a while. But I think the biggest challenge is going to be finding, just like the right guitar player who fits in. And I like working with and I'm guilty of this too, working with any musician. We can tend to be a little flaky sometimes, and we're
Hmm.
not always on time, and we're not always all that kind of stuff. So it's just finding, like, it really goes back to what I was saying before, just finding like the right people to work with on a personal level. Um, that'll I can trust my vision with.
Well, the benefit of having Sick Fix out now as well and available is that, any would-be guitarist can listen to that that you may not even know yet, and then can
Mhm.
hear it and think, oh, I really love the sound of this music, and I think I could play that. And that's how you get in contact. Fingers crossed.
Yeah, exactly. I purposely kept this as a duo for the recording process.
Hmm.
Um, I really needed to just see this vision through, this original vision I had of like this kind of solo project idea, and keep the songs what I needed them to be for me. Um, and as soon as the recordings were done, it was like, okay, now I can start thinking about the live, recruiting other people. Kind of like I was saying before, I'm very particular about parts. I don't necessarily like them to be rewritten. Just be, and it's not a egotistical thing. It's
Hmm.
really just, I just have a vision and I just want to see it through. Like, I'm not playing anything that, someone couldn't play. A more technically proficient guitarist could play circles around me.
Right.
So it's really just a matter about finding someone that I can trust that vision with.
Yeah, and I think that's completely fair. Particularly as you say, this started off as a solo project for you. And in those early days, how experimental were you with your sound? Or did you know almost immediately what you wanted Now After Nothing to sound like?
Um, I wouldn't say that I knew what I wanted it to sound like. I don't think I could have articulated it. But what I'm finding is it's really become everything that I've always wanted to sound like in the like, kind of in past bands and in my songwriting,
Mm.
um, the way it's evolved over the years. What I'm coming back with, I'm just really excited about, really happy with. Um, and I think there was really no forethought to it
Yeah.
other than once I heard it and I was it was much easier to identify once I heard the final mixes come back. And I realized even though some of the songs as more will get released over time, some of the songs are, stylistically kind of different, but
Mm.
you'll definitely hear that overarching thread to it, whether it's in my guitar sound or the sound of the drums, my use of keyboards and kind of little bells and whistles and ear candy that I love to add in.
Yeah, because people coming to you hearing this debut single are going to look at Sick Fix and think, okay, is that an encapsulation of exactly what Now After Nothing is? Is it fair to say that, or do you kind of just go on what you just said? There are different ideas, and it's well, it will always have that undercurrent and that theme running through it. There are different ideas.
Yeah, I think like the second single I just got back from mastering a few days ago, and it's stylistically very different. It's a lot more it's a little more moody and mid-tempo. You'll probably hear a little more of like the kind of the dark wave influence, whereas Sick Fix is more of an upbeat kind of tune, but it's unmistakably the same band.
Mm.
Just in the overall sonic atmosphere of the song.
We're sticking with Sick Fix particularly. The idea, the vision behind this particular track, where did that come from, and how did it grow into what was the eventual final product?
Yeah, so I've always been a music first person. Lyrics have always come last for me, and and historically, you know worked with singers that wrote their own lyrics, and I never really had to put much thought into it. So typically for me, the sonic atmosphere, as I always refer to it, of a song comes first. Sick Fix was actually when I first started to backtrack a little bit. When I first started this project, the idea of doing a solo record was pretty daunting. So I opened up session after session of unfinished recordings that I had worked on over the years. And Sick Fix was literally just like a snippet of a bass line and nothing else. And it was direct. It had no effects or nothing. It was really just dry and bare bones, and something about it just resonated with me that day that hadn't really hit me in the past in the same way. Um, and I mean, the music for the entire song was done that day. I mean, I
Wow.
instantly threw, I, sequenced a couple drum tracks just for, to have something on there for drums. Picked up a guitar and just started, writing all the guitar lines and whatnot, and it really just took shape very quickly. Um, and I was just able to thrive off of that. Like you've heard the track; it's a very
Mm.
upbeat song. It's got a lot of good energy behind it, and I was just thriving off of that. I like it was just this kind of feedback loop between myself and the song. Um, so that's really where it originated from. Is just kind of keeping that feeling, that energy, in mind as I wrote, and finished the music for it. Um, as it came time to do lyrics,
Yeah.
um, I struggled a little bit as a lyricist coming into this entire project because I hadn't flexed those muscles in so long. But lyrically, some of the things I was going through at the time and some of the environment of here in the US at the time, this is back in 2017, maybe 2016, when I actually started writing this song,
Mm.
um, give or take, and kind of just fed off of all of that. Lyrically speaking, the song is essentially about kind of hypocrisy and unhealthy relationships we have, whether it's with yourself, whether it's with the significant others, the news environment, social media, all these things. It's just like this kind of big whirlwind of crap sometimes, and which is where which fed the line "fuck off that carousel."
It's as relevant now. It's as relevant in 2023 as it
It
was in 2017, and no doubt
it
relevant in
is.
every country as well. We all have our same issues. So you talked about um, getting the masters back from a next single, but I was interested to know, where does Sick Fix kind of fit in the relation to what you're doing now? And is there a bigger picture that you are sort of planning to reveal as the year goes on?
For right now, the plan is to just release a bunch of singles.
Hmm.
As a new band, I had to think on this for a while. I think as a new band, it didn't make a lot of sense for me to put out an EP, certainly not of anything physical,
Mm,
because A, no one's really buying a lot of physical product anymore. The band's not playing live at the moment. So where were we going to sell physical product, even if we had it?
yeah.
Um, and I felt like it was a good way to kind of pace it out a little bit in terms of, me being having the time to finish these songs and put, the proper energy behind getting them heard. Um, but also in, just not. Uh, Actually, I lost my train of thought there.
No, you were talking about the fact of releasing singles throughout the year, and of course, because I
Thank
mean, I don't
you.
think there's an expectation or a belief that as a new band, that an EP or an album would be the first thing that should come from, as you say. You just get buried under a mound of other content digitally, and there's physical releases. Well, if you were able to sell a handful, it would be seen as successful.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for the reminder. Um, yeah, I think down the road though, I would love to package, a bunch of these songs together, and I will at some point. I just
Hmm.
haven't fully fleshed that out. Right now, I'm just kind of focused on getting like maybe like the first four singles out, and then maybe I'll package them with another couple of songs and release an official EP down the road, like in the summertime or something.
There are so many things to do when you want to make a band something and want to push it forward. Forget the fact that ultimately as well, there are only so many hours in the day that allow you. And unless you're going to be paid a lot of money to do this, which, isn't the case these days in music, yeah, of course. The fact that there's a plan going forward is warming enough.
Yeah, exactly. I'm just so thrilled to be doing this again, it's been, like I said, I had a big hiatus from
Hmm.
music for a while.
Well, how long,
Um,
if you don't mind me asking?
ooh, um, I would say, I mean, at least 5 or 6 years.
Well,
Um, since I really like last did anything, like on stage or anything like that. But since I've really sat down and written music, probably a little bit longer than that.
wow.
And it was far too long. It was not a fun time in my life to not have that outlet.
I'm glad you have it right now as well. Labels though, you guys came with a label like all bands do when it comes to selling stuff. And the label is Darkwave. You've actually mentioned it once already. And
Yeah.
I just smile at that because it's a very ethereal genre description. It doesn't really explain a lot or suggest what kind of music you might have to a certain degree.
It
But we
might
got
it
to
might be
box
why
you
I
in a
like that
genre.
label.
We have to do it, unfortunately, because that's how it works. But are you a fan of being labeled as dark wave, or would you prefer to kind of not just have any?
I mean, it's a double-edged sword, right?
Mm,
Um, on the one hand, it is what I resonate the most with, on a personal and creative level. So I'm more than happy to have that label, and I think it suits us.
yeah.
I think it certainly works. On the other hand, I didn't go into this thinking about, I have to be in a dark wave band or I have to be in a
Mm,
goth band or, or anything like that. Like, that's the way I approach things. Not the full way I approached things in the past, but I was more cognizant of it in the past because I felt like I had to be just kind of putting on my business manager hat on.
mm.
But, as I said, as this started out as just this like idea for a solo project, I didn't have any preconceived notions of even wanting to put a label on it or anything like that. Um, but I understand the game, like what would the first question that you're almost always asked is, you know, how would you describe this, the sound of the band? And I've always hated that question.
Mm,
And I'll make it clear that that's probably the most valid question that you can ask any new artist, right? But I always hated it because I never knew how to answer. I never felt like I really knew how to describe the sound. Um, you know, some people would hear Sick Fix and be like, dark wave, that's too
mm,
heavy to be dark wave. Or, you know, they'll hear the next single and they'll be like, um, you know, well, that's more goth than dark. I mean, you never know how people are going to respond and react. Um, so it's just like a necessary evil. I actually just wrote an essay um, for a blog that kind of talks a little bit about, um, you know, the goth label, like the goth dark wave label and whatnot. And it was really fun to write it and just talk about how, you know, historically I've been in bands where I've been labeled as goth, and I don't
mm.
even know what that means anymore. You know, like the term has been so used and misused and abused for, you know, so long now. It's like I don't like, how do people even mean that anymore? When I think of it, I think of it in terms of the more historically accurate, you know, definition of bands like Bauhaus and you know, stuff like that. But I think, and as I wrote in this article, you know, you had bands that sounded like California pop punk that threw on eyeliner and were being labeled, like mislabeled as goth for a
Mm.
while, like in the early aughts. Um, you know, sometimes by their own doing, sometimes not, I'm sure. But so that's where I stand on labels.
It is it could be a very lengthy conversation because although what you said I completely understand. It's a game, we have to play it, just like when we write an intro to a review, we have no choice but to reference progressive thrash, death, whatever it might be, because you gotta, that's what people might be looking for, is you know you do it. But hate it personally, kind of on board with you in that, in the sense that my one of the other writers, my older brother, often just goes, nope, not calling it that, it's metal, and that's the end of it. It's all heavy.
Right.
Stop being stupid. Because it's so
Yeah,
fragmented as well.
it is. It is.
What do you reckon then, sitting here right now, do you think is the biggest challenge you currently face? And I guess you could use it for 2023, to take Now After Nothing and make them a more well-known name.
What do I think is the biggest challenge to
Yeah,
that?
yeah,
Um, you know, just cutting through the masses.
yeah.
Um, you know, the internet itself, and like, you know, this is now a 20-year-old story, if not more. You know, the internet was fantastic in the sense that it gave younger indie bands a platform to reach, you know, their audience that they wouldn't otherwise reach. But it also gave, you know, 100 times more of those bands the same platform. So you know, cutting through the masses is a lot more difficult. So I think, you know, that just finding my audience, I think will be you
Mm,
know, will be the hardest thing, or more, maybe better said, having the opportunities for my audience to find us. You know
mm,
what I mean? I mean, I can push things out all day long, but until, you know, and that's why I'm grateful to, like, you know, have people like you out there that are actually pushing out bands, and, you know, getting the word out on some of these bands that are out there that other people might like. Um, you know, I think back to like my days as a local band and like in kind of early internet days. It would have been impossible for me to have someone buy a CD in Greece, you know?
mm,
And in this day and age, I mean, I've already gotten some, like I got a download from Australia. I got a download from, you know, like all these amazing places that I wouldn't otherwise be able to reach. And so that's, I mean, that's worth its weight in gold to especially an artist like myself, where we're very niche, you know, like I've never expected or had any ambition to reach critical mass, you know?
mm. It's still word of mouth. It just so happens to be
Mhm.
done digitally.
Right. Yes, exactly.
Okay, so I'm aware that music isn't your only passion. Talk to me about where your interest in filmmaking comes from and what you're doing to scratch that itch.
Hmm. Um, I actually have my undergrad degree is actually in like television production and management. And I think, when I when I would turn in like my student projects and, all of the other projects were, kind of, like documentary style on college life or whatever. And my short film was called A Day in the Life of the Self-Destructive. And I like had these 4 fictional stories of, these different, individuals going through some really destructive, self-destructive periods and, relationships, drug abuse, whatever it was. And yeah, I really just, I fell in love with that, with being creative on that level through film, the same way that I do through music. I happen to be, um, I did make a conscious choice at one point though. I remember thinking, um, and this was when I was younger and
Mhm.
felt that I, was maybe a little more marketable, back in like the, early to mid aughts when, I was still trying to, get some level of, higher level of an audience.
Yep.
And I did make a choice. I said, well, I can make films till the day I die. No one cares how old the filmmaker is.
True.
But there's only so many years that people are going to look at me on stage and not think, fuck, that dude's old. So, so I did, really, focus 100% of my energy into music because of that. But I've always had that little side passion, for film. And I don't get to exercise it much, but, someday.
Do you see an opportunity to combine that with Now After Nothing as you go forward?
Absolutely, 100%. And I hope to do it. The only challenge in that would be like time and, spreading myself too thin, which I already do,
Mm.
in terms of, how much needs to get done on a day-to-day basis. So really, yeah, that would be the only challenge. But I would absolutely love to bridge the two at some point.
Well, fingers crossed that's a possibility, because I'm sure you covered some fascinating stuff. Talking of which, if you could have been involved in a construction or creation of any movie, show, TV program, whatever, ever, what would you choose?
Like already in existence or conceptually?
Oh, in existence, something that exists that you would, if scratching your filmmaking itch that you would have loved to have been involved in.
Oh, I would have loved to have been involved in Breaking Bad.
Mm,
I mean,
really?
just
Why is that?
it's just such a phenomenal story. The rise and fall of this, completely mundane character who started as this mundane kind of, character, and just, Walter White coming into his own in the most sick way, right? Like in the most, disturbing way. But it was such a fascinating the way that the story was told was just completely fascinating and captivating. And, I loved a lot of the visual aspects of it. The cold opens, that kind of gave you the little clues and things like that. Yeah, it was just, one of my favorite series for sure.
Oh, fantastic. Well, what about the last movie, TV show, play, if you want, that you saw that maybe absolutely blew your mind?
Hmm. Oh, that's a really good question. I've seen some that haven't blown my mind as much that I was hoping would. Some of
Yeah.
the latest Marvel movies, but, blew my mind.
It's a tough one, isn't it? Because it's
It
a
is. I
hefty
might, yeah,
statement.
we may have to come back to that one.
We can do then, because we reach a point in the interview now where there's kind of quick fire questions,
Okay.
pulled from a pool of about 500, I think, questions now that are randomly chosen. 10 for you. Every band artist gets these, and they're randomly chosen. Some are nonsensical, some are quite serious. It's up to you how you
Okay.
answer it. So, first things first, what's your go-to topping on a pizza?
Um, uh, chicken, onions, and pesto sauce.
That's a damn good pizza.
Yeah.
For you, what is an iconic piece of music, either from a movie or a video game?
Ooh, movie or video game? Um, Movie-wise, I would have to say, I'm gonna really flex my nerd muscles here. I mean, the whole Star Wars series. You know, really, as amazing as Star Wars is, like, you know, it's undeniable what John Williams did,
Hmm.
to help push that story along.
Yeah, it's one of the well, it's one of the greatest composers ever.
Yeah.
Okay, this is a real looking ahead one, but a dream place that you would love to play in now after nothing further down the line.
Ooh, well, I'll, uh, I'm gonna be a little overarching on this one, say overseas.
Okay.
Um, I've been fortunate to have traveled a good bit. I would love to play somewhere in Japan or in Europe. I have a special place in my heart for those places. So yeah, so I won't name a specific venue because you know there's plenty of great ones. But yeah, I would love to play like in London or Tokyo.
Oh, fingers crossed you get to do that one day. What's a book that had a profound effect upon you, either as a youth or even in the last few years?
Hmm. You know, I read a ton of musician autobiographies. That's really kind of my genre of choice.
Hmm.
I just even from a young age, like I was so fascinated by you know, musicians and behind the scenes of what they you know, what goes into their day-to-day life that helps them push, you know, get this creative process out of them. So yeah, I mean, I think really any of the ones I've read have been great. I remember the friend of mine actually had this is like early eBay days.
Hmm.
She had asked me to pick. She was on tour, and she had asked me to bid on a the Babes in Toyland biography, and I was like, yeah, no problem. And so I won the auction and you know got the book. And she's like, yeah, you can. I won't be back for another few weeks. You know, like read it. And I didn't really. I mean, I knew of Babes in Toyland, but I hadn't really heard their music a lot.
Yeah.
And reading their book, the biography, it was fantastic. And I instantly it made me go out and like, you know, go grab Fontanelle. You know, there's the CD they were making at the time of the or that was largely the focus of the time period of the book. And it really gave me a different perspective because it was one of the rare times I had read the book before. It's kind of like reading the book before you see the movie. I
Yeah.
had read the book before I had heard the band, and that changed my perspective of, you know, just have it like the impact of an interesting story and how that can tie in with your music. Because I was able to hear the music differently from that point of the, you know, that particular recording.
It's a unique way of doing it because you would imagine most stories, autobiographies, are read by people who are fan. You know, you're a fan of the
Hmm.
music. You want to know more about the particular artist, and that's kind of it. So to do it the other way around, I don't think I've ever done that. I don't think I've ever had the opportunity to do that.
Yeah, yeah, and
Right.
like I said, it kinda just fell into my lap, and
Mm.
I'm so glad that it did.
Oh, fantastic! A walk in the woods or a lively party? Where would I find you?
A wa or what?
A walk in the woods, forest, or a
Okay.
lively party? Where you're more likely to be?
Walk in the woods. I'm a bit of an introvert.
Okay, tea or coffee?
Oh, both. I'm sipping on tea right now, but, I would say I'm more of a coffee guy overall, but I do enjoy a good cuppa every so often.
Fantastic. Okay, the first job you ever had.
Busboy in a restaurant,
Oh well, yeah.
an Italian restaurant, that served amazing food, so it you know, the job itself sucked, but goddamn the food was good.
How long did you do that for? Do you remember?
A couple years, yeah, and I was in high school.
High school, got to work, so I'll do what needs to be
You
done.
gotta do it, yeah.
Yeah. Do you believe in ghosts?
And ghosts?
Mm.
No, not like ghosts is like in the traditional sense,
Well, let's say
but I
life
do,
after death.
and like yeah, I don't know, I could change my mind about 5 times in the next 5 seconds on that one. Let's just say the jury's out.
Which is a fair enough answer. You said you've done a lot of traveling, so this question's perfect. Your favorite holiday destination?
Um, oh
Hmm.
god, it's a tough question because there's so many amazing places that I've been to. On the one hand, I would say like a place like Tokyo,
Mm.
because I just absolutely loved, everything about it from the city life standpoint. But one of my favorite things was spending, I spent about like a week or so in Tokyo, but I also spent about a week or so just driving by myself through the south of Ireland.
Oh.
Every day a new stop, and it was just incredible. So I don't know that I could choose just one.
And I mean, they're so different. You talk Tokyo, you
Yeah.
talk the south of Ireland. I am Irish born. That is my home country.
Oh, excellent, excellent.
Yes,
So
so
you
I
know
know
exactly what I mean about how beautiful it is there.
it is. It is a beautiful country. It really, really is. And last but not least, then a realistic goal for Now After Nothing to achieve this year.
A realistic goal. I'd love to get a couple shows under our belt,
Mm.
and I'd love to get on a bill with kind of some other bands in the genre that that are a little bigger than us, so we can get some exposure to a broader audience.
Hella realistic, absolutely. And I forgot we're going to circle back because even though I don't know if you've had any more time to think about it. Did you think of a movie or a show or something that blew your mind?
Oh God.
Well, let's make it easier. Something that came close to at least blowing your mind. Something you thoroughly enjoyed and thought, yeah, you know
I
what, I'd recommend that.
Yeah, I mean, like, the first thing that comes to mind is, like, film-wise is, like, Pulp Fiction, but that certainly wouldn't be the last thing I saw that blew my mind.
You've gone back a bit if that's the case.
Yeah, if anything, like, I was pretty damn young when it came out, so it probably scared the crap out of me at the time, I would imagine, but,
There will
um,
still be some people out there who may not have seen it, so there it is. Go see Pulp Fiction. I
there you
always
go,
recommend it.
yeah, but definitely wouldn't be the last one.
Before you go, Matt, when can you tell us when do you think we might expect the next single?
February 24th.
Oh, dated already. There it is.
There you go, yeah.
Okay, so we're not got too long to wait, less than a month. But for now, Sick Fix is available for everyone to listen to. Go check it out. It is a banger. Now, After Nothing, get to know them. Matt, thank you so much for taking the time to do this. I really appreciate it.
No, absolutely, thank you. This was a great time.
Thank you very much for watching. If you liked what you saw, please help us out by giving us a thumbs up and hitting that subscribe button. If you really liked what you saw, consider donating to keep the website and channel running by buying us a coffee via our coffee page or picking up some merch from our Big Cartel store. You can check us out on gbhbl.com as well as via our social media, Facebook, Instagram and Twitter, as well as listen to our interviews via SoundCloud, Apple Music and Spotify. Just search for GBHBL. Games, horror and heavy metal. What else is life for?